Hi and welcome back to the Fractured Rooster Garage. My name is Josh and today I'm joined by my son Gavin. Hi Gavin.
Hi.
Hi. We're not working on the car today, we're working on a four-wheeler. Gavin's turning 13 and we thought we'd get him something cool to rock around before he gets his license. And well, I guess we have another surprise at the end of this video. Well, I guess we'll show you why we bought an ATV. Big moves for the Fractured Rooster. All right, so what we have here is a 2004 Arctic Cat 650 V-twin. It's seen some better days. It's pretty rough, actually, but I picked it up really cheap. I thought it was a smoking deal. I think they book around $2,000 or $3,000, and I paid less than half that for it. Reason being, previous owner found a fence post with it, and I'm guessing right in this area, and it bent the whole frame. The whole passenger side, or the right side of the frame, it pushed this whole front end back about 3 inches. And you can actually see there's some kinks and bends in the frame right down there. And when that happened, it looks like it broke the frame. I bought it cheap, I got it home, and I went to look up the 2004 Arctic Cat 650 frames and found out that these are prone to break. This 2004 was the first year of the 650. And they just had some bad metallurgy or something. I'm not sure who they contracted out for the frames, but everything I could find on the internet said that they're bad, and Arctic Cat actually replaced them under warranty. Within 3 years of buying one, you could take it back to the dealership and they would give you a brand new frame, free of cost. And they'd replace it with a 2005 and 6 model frame. So I got online and ordered a 2005 or 6 frame that has all the upgrades and fixes and no issues that the 04 has. So it showed up yesterday, Gavin showed up today, and we're gonna take this one completely apart, set the new frame next to it, and reassemble the bike on the new frame. How hard can that be, right? Gavin just heard me say what I said, and he said, wait a minute, everything? I said, yeah, Gavin, literally every nut, every bolt, every clip, every wire, every screw, everything has to go to the new frame. Yeah, literally everything is going to come over. And here's that new frame. I bought this on eBay from Power Sports Nation, I think is their store. It was about $500 shipped to my door here in Kansas. They're out of Nebraska. It was very fast, like 3-day shipping. I was super excited about that. The 04 tended to crack here. This is where the airbox bolts on. All my research tells me that these welds break first, and then somewhere along here, or right in here or here, these frames, all of the 04 is cracked. And I mean all of them. If yours isn't cracked, it's cracking from the inside out, is from what I read. So if you've got an 04, don't bother fixing it. Jump online, buy an 05, 06 frame, and swap it all over. I'm going to show you how easy and, well, time consuming it is. Well, first step first, the previous owner already had most of this plastic body removed. He was going to fix it and ran out of time and just wanted to punt it. I think he found something bigger and better to work on, so that's how I was able to get it so cheap. So step one is going to be to remove all the body and the seat, which is going to be very easy. It's going to be just lift off on this one. And then maybe we'll put it on some jack stands and pull the wheels off and start pulling off hard parts. So yeah, we'll jump to a time lapse and get to it. Hi, welcome back to day 2. As you can see, some things moved around the shop a little bit. Yesterday we were successful in removing all of the plastics, the radiator, most of the rear wiring, the airbox, the foot pedals, and that's about it, and the wheels. We kind of hit an impasse because we're not really sure how the engine comes out, or if the differentials need to come out first, because as you can see, it's all kind of linked together, and I'm thinking there's some type of a slip joint here inside the transmission. So I'm guessing the differentials need to come off first to unspline those, and then the engine can lift out the sides. So today we're going to unbolt the differentials and maybe see which needs to come out first, the diffs or the engine. And then we'll bring over all the control arms and the steering shaft and all the steering mechanism, and then that'll basically be 95% of the bike. So cue the time lapse again. Well, we've been cranking along on the front differential here to try and get it out, and we came across some pretty mangled CV boots, which I knew about. So we jumped online and ordered up a brand new set of CV shafts, half shafts. It looks like the rears have been replaced once before, so I just bought the new fronts. So the new CV shafts that go on the new front end, we pulled the front right apart. We got the knuckle pretty well free. And unfortunately, the knuckle is attached obviously with brake lines. And I think it's best to bring all the brake lines over at once if you can. So it's kind of an orchestra. It's definitely an orchestrated movement to move everything over as a system or in a group. And if you put something on in the wrong order, likely you're going to be taking it back off to put something else on it before you can reinstall that piece. So we're just trying to tactically kind of figure out what systems need to move before the other systems. And it seems like most everything overlaps. And it doesn't seem like there's a really good way to do any of this. So we're going to continue working on this front diff and see if we can get it pulled off and put on the old frame. The new frame. The old new frame. All right, we've continued to plug along as you saw. We've got the front differential loosened. It's just got 2 bolts holding it in place. As soon as we, of course, loosened it, it started puking diff fluid everywhere, and you can imagine how bad that stuff stinks. But it's loose, but it can't come out. There's not enough clearance in any form of the frame here to pull it out. So the engine's got to come out first so the diff can come out through the center of the frame. The rear diff, however, and control arms all fell apart very easily, and that rear diff was removable. It's all stacked over there. We've come to the part now, the heavy part, the big lump here in the middle, the 650cc V-twin. And my back already hurts just looking at it. We're pulling the carburetors off real quick now. It's just 2 simple hose clamps. Lift the carburetors off, we'll suspend those. And then hopefully I can get this out of here by myself. If not, I'll call a buddy. But we're to the point now where that engine's got to come out, and we're just going to sit it right inside that frame as soon as we get it out. However, we noticed while we were going along here, this is different. This is where the rear rack would bolt on the top here. It's got 2 mounting points for that rear rack. And over on this frame, instead of bolting through the end of the frame, it sits on top and bolts through the top of the frame. Both of these plates are different on that frame. This plate is different on the 05 frame, and this plate is different on the 05 frame. This is what retains the seat, the latch mechanism. And you know, as I'm standing here talking, I see the front rack is different as well. Front rack mounts from the top here on the 04, rack mounts from the side. So I think we're going to have to cut all of that stuff off the 04 frame and then do some careful measuring and weld it onto the 05 frame. So the simple, easy swap just became slightly more complicated, but nothing we can't handle. All right, time's come. I just kind of lifted on it to see how heavy it was, and it was surprisingly light. We've just unhooked about 5 wires. And the engine's out. And the engine's out. It's really honestly not that heavy, it's just awkward. I'd say it probably weighs 65 pounds. I suppose I was trying to wedge it in that frame real quick. Yep. Yep. Oh. Bam, installed. All right, well, that was the hard part. That's done. Now it's time to cut the mounts off the old frame and move them over to the new frame. This front frame bracket needs to switch over. The rear frame bracket and the end of the frame here that's got a welded nut on the inside needs to move over, as well as this bracket here. So we are going to skillfully cut right here, cut this entire mount off here, Cut off this entire seat pan bracket here. And lastly, as close to that weld as we can, slice off this front rack mount bracket. And then we'll do the same to the old frame, obviously. So wish us luck. There was some sketchy factor going on there with the 6-inch cutoff wheel on the Milwaukee that I don't think is designed for anything bigger than a 5, maybe a 4.5. But we cut it off. That big wheel does make it cut so much faster. Got the corners of the frame cut off like we talked about. The seat pan brackets are removed and the frame is smoothed. Here's that seat latch we cut off of the 04 frame. That should weld back up in there and look fairly factory. I didn't know it was going to be this much work. A little welding is always fun, but it's getting late and it's family movie night, so I got to get inside. We'll pick up on this tomorrow when we burn in our frame modifications and hopefully get the engine installed. Probably all the suspension and differentials. I don't know if it'll be running tomorrow afternoon, but that's kind of my goal. Whew, it's a cold morning this morning. We had to fire up the old Ethereum shop heater. It's already gone up from 61 to 63 degrees in a matter of 20 minutes. So sort of making cuts. As you can see here, we just missed the old one we're throwing away, so we don't really care about it. Plus, carving these lines in here really helped me to remember where it went when I'm transferring my measurements over to the other frame. So we cut out these rear mounts and the front mount. We hit them with the flap wheel just to clean them up. These get welded onto the outside here, something like that. Now we'll bring over all of our marks so we know where they go. We'll mark them, we'll tack them, and then we'll burn them all in. All right, well, we've got our rack mocked up here. As you can see, it's loose. All of the mounting points are bolted to the rack. Now we just got to hold them in place and burn it all on. We'll do this for the front rack, the rear rack, the seat bracket, and then we'll continue assembling the bike. All right, well, I burned the hell out of my thumb, but we've got the ends of those frames welded on there. They don't look perfect, but they're perfect enough for what we're doing here. Welded the front brackets on as well. Now we're able to shift gears into the reconstruction phase. So we'll just basically work backwards from where we started. Front diff, engine, rear diff, wires, suspension, half shafts, brakes, gas tank, fenders, wheelies. That's how this works. All right, well, we drained the oil out before we pulled the engine so we didn't make a mess. And now we're refilling the engine oil with some good Mobil 1 1040. Just any old conventional 1040 works. So I went with the good stuff, the Mobil 1. Book says it calls for about 1.8, so we'll just throw 2 in there. That's close enough. Okay, now we are ready for a first start with a new frame. All right. Prime the fuel system. I hear the pump running. It says it's in reverse. There's neutral. We got nothing. What are we missing? We're going to do a little diag on this and see if we can't figure this out. All right, well, after a couple days of hard wrenching on and off camera, we've got the Arctic Cat pretty well ready to roll. And in fact, it has been rolling. We drove around the neighborhood a little bit yesterday and the day before, and it seems to run just fine. So, what do you think, Gavin? Is it a ripper?
Yeah.
Certified. What do you think, Zeke? Hey, is it a ripper? No. Jury's still out. It's not Zeke approved yet. The only issue we have with this new frame that we have yet to overcome is the mounting for this upper console piece. We're missing 2 mounting holes on the back that would have been in the 05 frame. That would have been in the 04 frame, but are not in the 05 frame. Other than that, I think we're ready to go out and give it a test drive. So, Gavin, let's load this thing up on the trailer and get out of here. Well, all right, a couple mile drive from our current house, and we're out at our 40 acres of paradise. We just bought 40 acres of land. We bought it at an auction a couple months ago, and this is where we plan to build a fractured rooster shop and house and playground, and we're going to put in maybe a pond. There's a creek here. There's 20 acres of wheat back there that we own, and 20 acres of grass and wooded area for us to sprawl out and have fun on. So this will be hopefully a good start to the next beginning for the fractured rooster, and for me and my family. More importantly, we brought out the 4-wheeler, we brought out a chainsaw. We're gonna go pile up some firewood in preparation for some type of a bonfire out here for a welcoming party for us. Well, we put that Arctic Cat ATV to work today. We hauled about 2 tons of logs up out of the creek, and we're gonna continue to do so. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.